Okay, so let us start our session. We are going to do mathematics, and I want to share my screen in just a minute. So this is the question that you did last. We can see how we can do this. These are very simple. The chart below shows the sales of television sets at a local appliance store over a period of 6 months, 6 years, not 6 months. And these are the number of appliances that were, the number of television sets that were sold. That is showing on this other side. And then on the horizontal side, which is showing the years, we have from 2015 to 2020. And here we are required to do, you write down the number of televisions sold in 2017. And okay, so Lloyd, there's no problem. So let us just do this. Start from number 18. That is where people are. And then you need to write down the number of televisions sold in 2017. So from this chart, you can see that if we have the vertical part or the vertical axis showing us the number of televisions, then we can use the bar to get us the number of televisions that was sold in 2017. So who can get us that answer? You can easily see it. Look at 2015. It is here. When we look at this bar, they are showing us the number of televisions that was sold that year. Now, if you look at 2016, it is showing us the number of televisions that was sold that year. So the bars, the size of the bars, how horizontal they are going to tell us how many televisions were sold in that year. So who can try and get us the answer for this? 2015, 2016, 2017. So for this, we need to write down for 2017. Who can try? Who can try? Maybe in 1 second. Okay. So for 2017, if you want to know the number of televisions that were sold in 2017, we came here. Good. I can see Lloyd. And Lloyd, I think, are you able to speak so that we try to make it faster? But I like your answer. That is true. In 2017, there were 150 number of televisions. How did you know that? Because you are looking at this line. That bar has touched. So this column bar, you can see where it has touched. And you can see that our scale is reading this way, in this manner. So if we have 0 here, then we have 10 on the dotted line. And then on the solid line now we have 20. Then on the dotted line we have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So it has been written like that way. That shows that the number of televisions that was sold in 2017 is 150. Wonderful. Now, the next question is that you need to write down the year in which the most televisions were sold. So what is the year that the most televisions were sold? We look at the bar with the highest. Okay. So the tallest bar. And you can see that the year that most televisions were sold is 2020. Okay. So you can see mathematics is very easy, right? 2020. How did we know that 2020 is the year that most televisions were sold? Because the bar is higher. The column bar is actually the longest if you go up. As you go up, we get more televisions that were sold. And therefore, 2020 is the highest. And how many televisions were sold in 2020? Somebody? Gabby, you can also write on the chat section. How many were sold in 2020? There were around 160. Okay? We had 160 of them being sold in 2020. And that was the highest number of televisions that were ever sold in that year, which is the highest number in all the years as compared to all the years. Now, let's move to number Roman 3. Write down the years where less than 100 televisions were sold. So here you are required to write whether it is 1 year or whether they are years. And therefore, if we look at the years that there were less than 100 televisions that were sold, you look at 100, the number 100, and then you look at those bars that are below it. So that shows that year, less were actually sold. Less number of televisions, less than 100. So what should I do? I go to the chart section, and then I look at 100, the horizontal line for 100, and then I look at those bars with less than 100, the ones that are falling below 100. Remember, it has been said that you write down the years where less than 100 televisions were sold. So we need to check very specific to those years that were less than 100. So which year was that? I think there were 2 years. What do you think? Look at it and tell me which year and which year. Try again. You can just write in the chat section. Yes, Lloyd and Gabby. The chat section. 2018, that's good. 2018 is here. It was below. And which year? 2016. Wonderful. So you can see that there are years that are below 100. Good. Now, let's move to the next part. I like that, Lloyd. Right, or you need to find the difference between the number of televisions sold in 2019 and 2016. When you hear the word difference, that means that you subtract. You are going to less. So we are going to 2019 and then 2016. Then we are going to find the difference, meaning we are going to subtract. So if we go to 2019, look at the number of televisions that were sold here. That was 130 televisions. And then in 2016, we had 80 televisions. And therefore, we go to 2019, 130 minus 80 televisions. That is what has been shown here using our column chart. So if we try that, I said in 20, you get the number of televisions that were sold in 2019. And they are 100 and, are they 130? And then in 2016. So in 2016, they're only 80. Let us confirm that. Let us confirm that. Good. So in 2019, they're 130. And then in 2016, they are 80. So after confirming that, now we can go ahead and less means you subtract. So 130 minus 80. 130 minus 80 is around 130 minus 80. That is around. Try and get me the answer there. Is it 50? Let me know. It is 50. So the difference between the 2 years is 50 televisions. 50 televisions. Good. So it is 50 televisions. Okay, that is wonderful. Let us now check another number because this one is done. And is there anybody with a question here so that we can look at it? Anybody with a question there? Anybody with a question there? Here? Good. If there's no question, then I'll move to the next number. No question. You can write on the chat section, no question, or just write no. That is okay. To let me know that you're getting what I'm doing. No. Good. Wonderful. So look at this number. Below is the sketch of triangle PQR. Okay. So this is a triangle PQR. Okay. Now this triangle PQR, you are required to use a ruler and a compass construct triangle PQR on the line below. So let us see how we can construct this triangle. This one is very simple. Construction is very simple. Let us see how we can construct it. And I want to use this whiteboard to construct it. So here, let us see how we construct that. The triangle is PQR. So the equation is here. We have this sketch. PQR from P to Q is 10 centimeters. That is down here. P to Q, it is written already. And you are required to not erase construction lines or arcs. That is simply to show that you didn't gaze it. Okay. So using the protractor, using a ruler and compass, construct that. Don't use protractor first, but you construct it to appear this way just using a ruler and a compass. Okay. Now, let us use the whiteboard and see. First of all, this has a horizontal line, which is 10 centimeters. So we are going to, when you are doing the paper itself, you need not to draw it again, but just to do it where it is, down here. Just sketch it from, not sketch, but draw it from the line that you've been given already. But now I want to do it in the whiteboard. We are not going to use the already existing line that we have been given. So let us draw it first. The line P, and I'm going to draw it. I'm going to change the background to appear to be something else, maybe that. And then now we are going to draw it. So when we draw it, it's going to appear like this. Something like that. And then we are going to name here, we are going to call it P. So it's the same thing. That is what I've done. If you look at this, that is just the same thing. That is point P. At this point P, we now need to sketch. P is here, Q is there, 10 centimeters. I'm going to measure 10 centimeters from point P. So let us measure 10 centimeters from this point. And I'm going to bring a ruler. After bringing a ruler, I'm also going to bring a compass so that my compass to measure 10 centimeters. So I'm going to measure from here. That is how you measure when you are doing this. I'm just showing you the procedure up to 10 centimeters. 10 centimeters is at that point. Yes, this is from 0 centimeters to 10 centimeters. From 0 centimeters to 10 centimeters. So I'm going to pick it. I come and put it at that point. Then I can now mark the point where we have point Q, 10 centimeters, P, Q. So Q is somewhere here. I have to measure 10 centimeters. Because this is a sketch, I have to show that it is 10 centimeters. So I'll come here and mark it like that. Okay, so let us mark it. Okay, so we can, good. So we can mark it like that. Then it is now 10 centimeters. So that one is around 10 centimeters. We are trying to draw it. Good. Then we are now going to measure 8.5 centimeters. As you can see, that is now coming from Q. We can start with 8.5 centimeters. Then we go with this. So let us measure 8.5 centimeters. Now, 8.5, let us carry this. 8.5. We start from there. Then we measure 8.5. 8.5 is at that point. You can see where 0.5 is when you are measuring 8. see where 0.5 is. Yeah. So we pick it, we come and draw it from here, but now this other side. Okay. So I'm going to do something like that. That is how it is drawn. So already we know that from this point to the point up here, and the point up there is point R, we actually have 8.5. That is how it goes. We have measured from Q going to R 8.5, and we are going to measure from P going to R 6 centimeters. So how do we do that? We just pick our protractor, we come back with it, and now this time round we are measuring 6. We are measuring 6 centimeters. That point, then we ensure we have 6 centimeters. We are shortening it to be 6 centimeters at that point. So that is 6 centimeters from 0 to 6. You ensure you are as accurate as possible. 6 centimeters. Good. Then I cut it, I come and put it here. And then now I cross this line. And we are going to test using a ruler if that is true. And then I can just now cross it like that. So the point that we'll be looking for, which is point, I can remove that now, which is point R, is already here. So look at it. We have R, which is now the intersection of that point. P down here is there. And then we have Q, whereas Q is now this point. Let us use a ruler to join them. For you, because you are going to do it on a paper, you use a ruler to join them. How do you use a ruler? You just bring the ruler down there, okay, like that. And then you join it straight. You ensure that it is very straight. Ensure that it is very straight. Yeah, like that. Look at it. Very straight. Okay. Good. So that when you join it, it touches here and up there, the way it should be. So if I don't use a ruler because I'm using this platform, I can easily join it like that so that it passes in that manner. You can see it is very straight. And then I come down here, I also pass it in that manner. So you can see we have drawn our sketch, the sketch that we've been given. It is now drawn, R, P, Q. So I just come and label it and name it R, P, then Q. So Q is at this point. Wonderful. So that is what we have. Now, after drawing it like that, already you have the sketch and you need not to erase anything. It should show that way. And then you can now label this is 10 centimeters. You can go up here and label this was around 8.5 centimeters. This is around 6 centimeters. So you can write the centimeters for both of them. And then from that, now you can answer the question. So this is the question. After doing that, you are required to, and remember you are doing it here, you are required to use the triangle constructed to measure and write down the size of angle PQR. PQR. So PQR, which angle is that? It is the angle at R. When someone tells you to measure angle PQR, go and measure the angle at R. So where is that angle? The angle at this point. This is the angle PQR, angle at R. How do we measure that angle? We measure that angle using something called protractor. And I want to show you how you measure it. Remember, we are measuring the angle at R up here. You can only measure it after drawing this triangle that we've been told to draw. Now we are going to measure it. And before we measure it, we can even confirm if these ones are 8.5 centimeters. Okay. Let me do another one. Activate it. Oh, let us bring the ruler just to confirm if they are 8.5 centimeters. Just want to confirm something. Is it 8.5 centimeters or it is not? So from this point, is it 8.5 centimeters? That is what I want to confirm. And look at that. Should start from there. Good. Is it 8.5 centimeters? Yes. 0.5 is here. And that is, I measured it using the compass. You can also try the 6 one. We can also try that. For the 6 one, we can try if it is 6 centimeters. Let us put our ruler there and then you try. That is something you can confirm when you're doing your exams. Is it 6? Let us position it well there. And you can see it is 6 centimeters. So after that trial, now let us measure the angle at R. The angle at R. Here we are going to bring something called protractor. So let us pick a protractor and put it there. So after having the protractor, we are going to switch it the other way around. Then we measure that angle. So how do we measure the angle? You ensure that it aligns with one line. For instance, we want to make it appear like that. Then it covers that line. And at this point R, we need to have this in between, yeah? So we are bringing it there, R. So it is there. Then we can now check on that angle. We can now check on that angle. Good. So what is the angle? Somebody who can see, tell me what degree is the one that is measured. Do we use the outer lane or the inner one? Which one do we use? Do we use this outer one or the inner one? Just right there, inner or outer, so that I can see the inner lane or the outer lane for the protractor. When you're measuring this angle, you can just type there inner or outer. The outer one, this line that starts from 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And then there is one here that starts from this point. Okay. Now, we are using this outer one. Why? Because this outer one starts from 0. We are measuring starting from 0. Now, when you're measuring starting from 0, we can see that this angle is around 85. Look at it. We have 85, then 90. So it coincides with the longer 5 degrees that appears in between the angles. The longer one, another one is here between 70 and 80. Then between 80 and 90, it appears at that point. So the angle there is 85. Good. So after measuring that, we come there and write, we have 85 degrees. When we bring the question here, our question requires us to use the triangle constructed in point A and measure and write down the size of it. So the size of that angle is 85. And that is how simple that question is. Very simple. Wonderful. Any question there? Any question? Can just unmute and ask. If there is no question, then we are moving on. Good. No question. So let's move on to another number. We have seen how to do that one. This is very simple. Now, for another number, we have this. Look at that. Look at this. This is an advert. And you are required to look at this advert. The advertisement below shows the weekly special at KS Tetronics. Weekly special, we have 10 each tablet, which is $229.75. Headphone at $49.50, of course, and then they purchase both and receive a 4% discount. So if you purchase both, you are receiving a 4% discount. Now, this one, a customer purchases both items and receives the discount. You need to calculate the amount the customer pays. You need to calculate the amount that the customer pays. Here, how do we approach this? This one is very simple. First of all, you need to know that what was the total amount that was paid by the customer before the discount. So if I minimize that, and then maybe I add another page, make it like that, we can write down the total cost or the total amount that was paid by the customer before the discount. So for us to get that, you are going to write this. For the tablet, the customer paid $229.75. That is before the discount. And then for the headphone, it was $49.5 before the discount. So we are going to write there $229.75. That is before the discount. And then $49.50 before the discount for headphone. So this is the amount for headphone. And then this other one is the amount for the tablet. So the tablet was worth $229.75, and then the headphone was $49.50. Now, the customer purchases both items, and now you are required to calculate the amount that the customer received. Of course, the discount that was supposed to be received here was 4%. 4% discount. Now, how do we do this? Add the total number, the total amount that was supposed to be paid by the customer without the discount. And that is going to be $229.75. You add $49.50. So if you add $49.50 from that, we are going to get 5. 7 plus that is 2. Then 0.972. So we have 279.25. That is the total amount that was supposed to be paid to that customer, the buyer, without the discount. But now this amount, there was 4% discount. Now we have to deduct that 4% discount. Okay. And if we want to deduct that, we are going to say we have 4% of that. So we need to get the 4% of this amount, 279.25. How do we get that? We are going to get the 4% by having 4 times. When we say of, usually means times. When someone tells you of, that is times in mathematics. Times 279.25. So this 4%, we put it over. We are going to have it over 100 because it is in form of percentage. For percentages, put it over 100. Now, after having that, we are now going to get the answer as 0.0 Is it 0.4 times, I've just divided 4 by 100 times 279.25. Now, the answer here will be, what is the answer? Just multiply that and get me the answer in the chat section. What is the answer there? The chat section. Can we see the answer? 0.04. Multiply and get me the answer. You multiply by 279.25. Get me the answer in the chat section. Okay. The discount. Okay. The discount is 11.17. So 11.17. That is the discount. But remember, the question is that how much was paid by the customer? Customers don't pay discount. That is the amount that you're being given. Is like it is being deducted from the market price, the amount that was paid. And therefore, we are going to minus this amount from the original amount. The original amount that was supposed to be paid is 279.25. So we need to subtract 11.17 from it. 11.17 from it. If we subtract that 11.17 from 279.25, which was the amount that was supposed to be paid originally, what are we going to get? 279.25 minus 11.17. That is around 268.08. That is very wonderful. That is the amount that was supposed to be paid by the buyer. So if we bring this over, you can see what that means. 268.08. Look at it. Calculate the amount the customer pays. So this is the amount that the customer pays. What did we do? First of all, get the total amount that was supposed to be paid without the discount, 279.2. After that, get 4% of it. 4% of it is the discount, because discount means you are now not going to pay that. You can go to the supermarket or to any shop, and then you are told that this product is $20. And then you ask, can you give me a discount? And then they're going to give you a discount, maybe of $2. So you only pay what is remaining after you've been given the discount. And therefore, if this was 4% of the discount, we are getting that 4%, what it represents in the totals, then we remove it from that total. And that is what I've done here, so that I get the exact amount the customer paid. Good. I'm going to move to the next question because of time. If you have any question, then you can ask. Because of time, I'm going to move to the next question. I can't see any question, and therefore we will move to the next question. No question. Okay, let's move to the next question. Now, what is the next question here? Here, we are having this question. And this question, someone is saying that we have to simplify. It is very simple already, but you only need to simplify it again. The question is very easy, so make it simple. Simplify. Number one is, or number A, I mean, is 3x cubed minus 5x squared plus x cubed plus 8x squared. So if you get such a question, what you do first is to collect the like terms together. Just put the like terms together. And then after putting that, you are now going to get the simplified part. If you have cube, we put cube together. For instance, here we have 3x cubed. We also have another cube here for x cubed. Put it together. Then if you have squared, those squared, you also put them together. We have negative 5x squared and then 8x squared. Let us put them together, then we see what we have. So for question 1, I'm going to open another page. We have 3x cubed and then minus 5x. This time around it is squared, then plus x cubed, and then plus 8x squared. Now, in this case, you are required to, just to simplify that, we are going to group that with that, and then this other one, we are going to group it with, this other one is being grouped with that. Now, after having them that way, now we are going to group them together. Why are we pointing this with this other one? Because they are like terms. Look at it. They are cubed. 3x cubed and x cubed. We don't have another cube. Then we go again and group this one, which is negative 5x squared and the 8x squared. They are together. So let's come down here and group them. We are going to have something like 3. Problem. Okay. Let's write it now. We have 3x cubed plus x cubed. So group together, then we add these other ones, another group, which is negative 5x squared this time round plus 8x squared. That is another group. Then after having those groups, add those ones, get the answer down there. Add these ones, get the answer down there. So for the first group, we have 3x cubed plus 4x cubed. That is going to give us 3x cubed plus x cubed. That is going to give us 4x cubed plus. So this group has already been added. This other group, negative 5x squared plus 8x squared. So this is around 3x squared. Negative 5x squared, if you add 8x squared, you are going to get 3x squared. And then the answer there is that you just put this together. Just put them together so that we are going to have the final answer as 4x cubed plus 3x squared. That is how simple it is. Any question there? Any question? Okay, no question. Very simple to do. Now, after doing that, we are going to do number 2. This is the question. We have done number 1, simplified 3x squared minus 5x squared, 3x cubed minus 5x squared plus x cubed plus 8x squared. Good. Let's move to number 2. So the answer here is going to be the one that I've written down here. 4x cubed plus 3x squared. Let's move to number 2. 3x over 4 plus x over 5 plus half. So here we are going to find something called LCM, or the least common multiple. That is common for all these denominators. So we find LCM so that we find a number that can be divided by all those numbers in the denominator. So let us find it. We are going to open another page and maybe say we have 3x divided by 4. Then you add x you divide by 5, and then plus top. We are going to find the LCM. So the LCM is the least common multiple and is going to appear in the denominator, a number that can be divided by all these numbers, the 4, 5, 2, the denominator numbers. There's a question here. Is the LCM 20? Yeah. The LCM is actually 20, the least number that can be divided by all that. Okay. So the LCM is 20. Very good, Lloyd. Now, after having 20, now we come and write it there. So 4 goes into 20 how many times? That is how we now start dividing it. 4 goes into 20 how many times? Then whichever the number you get, you multiply by 3x. So 4 goes into, divide 20 how many times? It is dividing 20 5 times. Okay? So 5 times 3x is going to give us 15. 15x. That's simple. Plus. So where did you get that plus from? This one. We are done with the first one. Look at what I've done. I just divide 20 by 4. After dividing 25 by 4, I get 5. So 5 you multiply by the numerator, which is 3x. We are going to get 15x. I have 4. I'm going to the next one, which is 5. 5 goes into 20 how many times? Or divide 20 how many times? 4 times. 4 times x is 4x. X is what it has in the numerator. Then lastly, we have half. Where is half? It is here. You add 2 goes into 20 how many times? 10 times. 10 times. If you divide 20 by 2, you are going to get 10. 10 times 1, which is on the numerator, is 10. Okay. Look at what I've done. I've ensured I have one denominator, which is 20, and that is LCM, the least common multiple. And then after that, you just divide the denominators by that new common denominator, which is 20. Then you multiply by the numerator for each fraction. In that case, we are going to add the like terms. Up here, you can see there are some like terms, and those like terms are here. 15 is liked with 4 because they have x's, 15x and 4x. We can't have 10 is just 10. It is not attached to any x, and therefore we are not going to put it together with any number else because we can't see that. And therefore we cannot say 15x plus 4x, then we also add 10. No. Why are we not adding 10? Because it is not attached to x, and therefore they are not like terms. So let us add 15x plus 4x. We are going to get 19x. If we add that, we are going to get 19x. Then you add 10. 10 is not attached to any, so we are going to have 10. Then the common denominator that we got. The common denominator that we got is 20. And that is what we have. So if we bring this question back, where is the question? If we bring this question back, that is what we have. Simplify 3x plus x over 5 plus half. This is what we get. Now, first of all, get the least common multiple, which is the LCM. Then use it as a common denominator for every fraction. Multiply like that. 4 goes into 20 how many times? Multiply by the numerator. Move to the next fraction, multiply by the numerator, then the last fraction. And then you simplify by having the like terms together. And then you, after putting the like terms together, you ensure that now you can't simplify it further. Just now we have 19x plus 10 over 20. You can't simplify that further. And now that is the answer. Good. So that is for today. Because of time, we are not going to jump to another question. Maybe we'll start it next time. And thank you for attending. I hope we'll meet next time.